Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Not Another Fitness Podcast with me, Finn, and my co-host and other half, Becky. Today, well, we're actually supposed to record this podcast yesterday, weren't we? But
yeah, a bit delicate.
You can tell, and it's probably the sound of my voice is a bit croaky.
It was.
We went out on the 2-year anniversary of the gym on Saturday night, so yesterday we weren't hanging that much, we were just a little bit
delicate.
Couldn't be arsed, basically.
Getting a bit old now.
Well, luckily it's a bank holiday, so we're here now and we're doing it, we're recording it. So, let's start with today's subject. So, I'm just going to go straight in today. Most of you should know the crack by now. If this is the first episode you're listening to, this is not another fitness podcast. We're not going to talk about fitness, we just talk about loads of random weird stuff and have a conversation and discussion about it.
And go back one because you've missed the first one.
Go back one, listen to episode 1 and you'll know the crack. So today's subject is something that I come across in my work and you come across in your life.
I think it has a great impact on your life as well.
Yeah, I'll probably say every straight male, if they've got a partner, will also be affected by this. So today's subject is, should men learn about periods? Now this is again something I come across in my work, so I don't have any problems talking about periods because it's something I'm genuinely interested in, because it's something I want to learn about, because I have a lot of, I would say maybe 70% of my client base are female, so that means they all have periods or have had periods. So it's something I want to better my understanding on, so I can help my clients better. Basically just be better at my job. So as a man, it doesn't bother me talking about periods, whether I'm talking about them with clients in that setting. It's a little bit different. But what I would say is there's 2 reactions to women when we have this conversation. The first is, oh my God, this is really weird. There's a man talking about periods.
I want to crawl into a little hole.
Yeah, because they don't know what to say or how to react to it.
A bit embarrassed, I think. Sometimes people are a bit embarrassed.
Yeah, maybe there is still I'm not a woman, so I can't speak for women, but I imagine there would be a little bit of embarrassment talking about the subject and feeling like it's something maybe not to be ashamed of. Maybe that's the wrong word, but
I don't know. I think times are changing. I've never been embarrassed, but I think our generation, it's never been much of a problem. Previous generations, like my parents, I don't think anyone spoke about it then, did they?
Yeah, and I do think maybe it's a generation thing in the sense that now, with not just periods, but a lot of things that we're becoming more aware, we've got a better knowledge on the subject, so it's not a taboo. Like, this is the idea of today's podcast. So not for everybody, but for men, like if I sit with a group of lads down the pub, nobody's going to bring the subject of periods in a group of lads setting. And if one of us maybe did, everyone would be a little bit, this is weird. Unless it was just kind of a passing comment maybe, or my missus, it's time of the month for my missus or whatever. But it's never like that's
I'm
about...
not sure how that's how it goes down.
No, but that's about it. There's no detailed conversation and discussion about it. I think men are just... I don't know whether that's because men don't understand it or don't want to talk about it because it's a taboo subject.
I just don't think it affects your life really.
Yeah, maybe a little of ignorance of like most men are like, not my problem, I don't have a period, I don't need to talk about it.
What, you're on yours? That's alright then. And then move on.
Exactly.
That's as far as it goes.
I think the only maybe situation where you wouldn't need to talk about it is if you were a gay male, because you aren't a female and your partner isn't a female, so it is literally then.
But then it depends on the job.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking inside a personal setting, but like, obviously, I don't know, like if I didn't do my job, would I be interested in going and learning about periods? I'm not an expert on the subject, but I know a basic
Probably not going and learning about it, although, I don't know, you're quite inquisitive, aren't you?
Yeah, I don't know, I can't say, but I definitely, part of me learning about it and having a better understanding is because of my job. And actually, the most shocking thing I find is when I talk to women about this, I've got a better understanding than periods than some women have, and that is something that they go through on a monthly basis. So yeah, that's a bit weird, because I think if I was a woman and I had a period every single month, or it was something that regularly happened, I would be genuinely inquisitive and go and find out why my body works like that. That's just kind of what I'm like. But
yeah, but you like science.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So for the average person, I get, but like also, I think for women, because especially the ones that experience quite severe symptoms, it's then I would be more inclined to learn about it, because then I'd be like, is there anything I can do to help it and that makes it worse, etc.
Women who do experience severe symptoms are inquisitive because they want it to stop, don't they? Whereas people like me who don't really get anything.
Yeah, I do, obviously.
Just deal with it.
Yeah.
A bit of blood and that is it. Nothing else.
Every woman is different as well. So we're talking about periods in a very vague sense, like, you know, every woman will experience these, but in terms of the symptoms that they have, like Becky was just saying, she doesn't suffer that bad. I know women that really suffer when it comes around to that time of month. You know, people sometimes have to have days off work because the symptoms are that bad and things like that.
People don't believe it, you know. I've had people at work be really poorly with periods, and other people really unsympathetic about it. Like, what do you mean you're having a day off?
Is that other women or men?
It's actually women. Yeah. What do you mean you're having a day off because they're on your period? What do you mean? Every month you have to have a day off. Like, really quite unsympathetic.
So maybe it's not
But I suppose it might be someone like, I mean, it wasn't me, but somebody like me who has no symptoms whatsoever and is not being very empathetic. And they're a bit like, well, there's nothing wrong with me every month. Why are you having a day off every month? That's not right.
And also, as a man, you don't have periods at all. So maybe it's slightly more understandable.
But if you had a girlfriend or a wife who really suffered, like my sister, I'm sorry, Emily, if you're watching, she used to pass out when we were younger.
Just dropped you, dropped you.
Yeah, well, I'm sure she remembers seeing. I've never had any problems, but both my mum and my sister used to really suffer. And Emily, you would just hear it on the floor because she'd gone on the bathroom floor.
Yeah, so
but that's how
people
different even
stuff.
Siblings can be. Nothing with me, but you just hear a smack.
I suppose it comes down to... You
couldn't get in because she'd locked the bloody door.
I suppose it comes down to the thing that as a man you don't have a period, so you can't really be empathetic. No, you can't. It's harder to be empathetic because you've never experienced it and you never will. And as a woman who does have not many symptoms or doesn't suffer with it that much, it's there maybe harder to empathise towards the women that do. And then you're thinking, maybe are you just putting it on?
Well, I think it's worse. I think women are worse who don't have that problem. Because, like I said before, they are like, well, I have the same thing as you do. Why are you being so dramatic?
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with me. Whereas men can't put themselves
it's kind of like, you're in a pussy for, like, what's up with you?
I suppose. But men can't do that. Men it's this unknown area where they can't really say, oh yeah, oh no.
So maybe, they can't. I mean, you do get like misogynistic men who will be like, oh, what's up with you or whatever. But for most men, I would say maybe like, say, women who have less severe symptoms are more nasty with it because they're like,
well, not even
I'm
nasty,
alright.
Unsympathetic, I think.
Yeah, but I suppose. Whereas
you don't have to be nasty with it.
Right. So as I was saying, anyway, we went on a bit of a tangent, but I was saying earlier, there's two types of women. So I'll talk to women, and when this conversation of periods comes up and we have the conversation, they're either really surprised because they're like a bit embarrassed and sometimes taken back and sometimes really, they're almost like impressed that I know. Not that I'm doing it to show off, but it's like...
You came into my work, didn't you?
So...
like a wellbeing talk, and all the women afterwards were really impressed that you talked about periods. Like,
even as I do that talk when the period section comes up and I'm talking about it, and
you get a bit of it.
Talk a little bit about menopause as well. Like, I can see the faces in the room, and it's the women, like... The men are just a bit like, nothing. It's like, it's almost like, well, it's nothing to do with me, I don't get periods, so this isn't relevant to me. Whereas the women are a bit like, he said the P word, like, he's a man saying it to him, not period. So I think
I find that strange because my life, like, with you in it, is just so like.
We openly have conversations about it. I think.
Like, I've come on this morning. He's like, I'm like, I've got really bad stomach ache. Like, oh, okay. Yeah, we like listen. You understand?
I suppose that's any relationship.
I'm like, oh, come on. It's like, do you want a chocolate bar?
Maybe it comes down to a little bit of maturity to having. Again, I can't ever empathise to the point where I know what it feels like to have a period, and I never will because I'll never be a woman. But
you tread very carefully, don't you?
Yeah, I think again, maybe part of my job as well is doing my best to put myself in other people's shoes and understand their situation. Even though I might not experience some of the things describing, you can still listen to people and understand what it is they're going through without maybe being judgmental. And I think because I've got no comparison point in the terms of I will never have a period, maybe say like the women who have and haven't experienced a bad one, that's why they're like, what's up with you if you've got a bad one or you're really ill or whatever, because their comparison point is mine's fine, yours is not. Either there's something up with you or you're just being a bit of a Wendy.
Yeah, being dramatic.
Yeah, which maybe in some situations maybe, but I do think for a lot of women that I know it is quite
it's horrible.
It can it can be. It's quite a serious thing, really.
Yeah. I mean, because I've grown up with a sister who suffered, I've had friends who suffered, I think for me, I've seen it quite firsthand what it does to you and how poorly it can make you. But other people, if you've not got any sisters, if you're just a girl who's got brothers, let's say, and your mum is of that generation who doesn't really talk about it, then, you know, it's difficult. Even when I was a kid, people were quite, didn't talk much about periods. Friends, I've been lucky with my best friend who just comes out of it all.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, it is just like weirdly shocking that the amount of women that maybe you're listening to this, you are a woman, whatever age you are, if you're having periods or whatever, like my advice would be to get a better understanding of it. There's loads of apps and stuff you can use.
The Garmin one's really good. I got a notification every week. I was saying to you, wasn't I? Track your cycle and all of your symptoms or whatever, and it is brilliant. I was gonna have a look. I think you can. It says stuff like, I don't know if you'll find ISIS pressure.
I think the thing is, right. So
you hold the fort. I'll find it.
From my point of view of working with women, there's like I'm thinking about how that period affects things like their appetite, the training, etc. But even if you're not doing it from that perspective and you're trying to get into fitness, understanding it just for general health to improve your quality of life is just a good idea. So if you can start understanding your symptoms on a monthly basis through using something where you track or something like that, but you can then make them maybe symptoms less severe or work around them as best you can. Or even if you do have a job or an employer that is understanding, you could work with them. I think there maybe should be a little bit more of that in the workplace. Like, I don't know what it's like for you, but
pretty good. Yeah.
In terms of the understanding and support of like this is on a monthly basis. I'm not saying they always should give you a day off or just go right have a day off. I'm not. Maybe sometimes you will need to, but they might go let's put you on lighter duties today for this day.
I think in my
workplace
like we all we try and work together. It might not so much come from the top, which I'm sure it would if we asked. But if somebody was having a bad day on the period and they had a duty, it might be like, oh, well, I'll do your duty for you today if you want. And don't worry about
I suppose
that.
that's just being a nice person.
And you look after each other, yeah. But people are quite empathetic. I went in last week around the table, 2 blokes and 3 women. Oh, I've come on this morning and I'm really tired. And the blokes just kind of go...
Yeah, that's the biggest reaction.
And the women are like, oh, yeah, I know. Like...
Yeah, I suppose it's not weird, is it? Because men are a bit like it's out of their comfort zone. It's something that they don't, unless they have in-depth conversations with the partner who's a female about it. Then they're probably going to be a bit embarrassed, aren't they?
Talk about it so openly. It's like talking about what you're having for tea. I don't have any breaks. I will just, when I see a man, I don't think, oh God, I better not talk about periods around this man.
I think there probably is some women that are like
I will
that,
just come out with it, but that's because with you, I just say whatever.
I do sometimes when I talk to clients and they get the fact that I'm not fazed by it and it's a conversation that I'm willing to have and sometimes it's needed to have. You can see the women like go how they approach it. Maybe the conversation with me, it's like they kind of treading water and testing it, and they're like, should I say that? Should I not? Because I might be embarrassed. And like, there shouldn't be any embarrassment. And if anybody, man or woman, that makes you feel embarrassed about something that is physiology that you go through every month, then they're just an idiot, really, aren't they? But
I think it's more ignorance.
Maybe more ignorance than...
I've found it now, right? And let me tell you something. Before, I had this Garmin watch about 3 years ago. We got it a few years ago anyway. And I'd never really, before that, because I'd not had problems with my periods, I'd never tracked it, never bothered with like a tracker, a cycle tracker, a symptom tracker. But actually, when you go on here, I mean, this is just a Garmin one. I don't know if you can see if you're looking on that. It's probably different on all of them. But I didn't realise, what shocked me is how many just everyday symptoms are because of your period.
You probably can't see it. It says stuff like diarrhea, backache, so body ache, how your mood in terms of how you're feeling that day, so you can track everything in terms of...
There's even more here, so let me slide across. So you can have acne, obviously spots, that's quite... diarrhea, fatigue, feeling tired, backache, bloating, everyone gets bloated, headaches, body aches, nausea, constipation, tender breasts, cramps, trouble sleeping, cravings. Sometimes you think, oh, I've got a bit of diarrhea, and you wouldn't think anything of it, but then you realise when you put the two together, once you track on something like this, that it's not just an everyday thing, it's probably because you're on your period. And then you've got your mood, where you can input your mood, so you might be irritable, frustrated, sad, motivated, energetic.
So an example of that would be, let's say it is constipation, is the symptom that you maybe you have once a month, but you're not realising it's associated with your periods, etc. Yeah. When you become aware of that from using something like that and go, actually, around this time of the month, I always get a bit of a dodgy stomach. Yeah. I've always got diarrhea or whatever.
And I was just looking at it. Then you can, I mean, you can't really see it, but you can see, can't you? So one cycle there, so that's one day, that's one cycle. You can track it for 6 cycles.
Put it towards the camera a bit more, you might be able to see.
So you could track over 6 months all your symptoms, or a few cycles every month. And then a year you can do 12 cycles and have a look at your symptoms over all that time.
So it'll tell you what symptoms maybe are irregular. Sometimes it might just be that you've got a bad stomach 1 month, so it's nothing period related. But if it is, there's things that you could maybe do, maybe be more careful around what you're eating, maybe start, like, loads of things that I'll do with clients is like making sure you're prioritising your sleep, that your quality of food's quite good, simple things like that. You should be probably doing these things anyway, but you might be more focused, or I don't know what the word is, like more vigilant with the things of going, right, I make sure that, because if I don't, I'm going to feel really crappy, so I need to make sure I'm trying to... You can't kind of stop yourself from having a period and having that low mood and low energy, but you can do things like preventative and trying to do things so you don't feel as shit, basically. You're still going to feel shit if you do have bad symptoms, but it's feeling less shit by doing things that you can control, whether it be diet or training or things like that.
Speaking to some of my friends though, quite a lot of friends my age, sort of late 20s, early 30s, are on contraception. And some of them don't get periods because of the contraception. So they might have the injection, they might have the implant, they might have the pill where they don't get periods. And that, I think, they still get symptoms, but obviously it's not as regular. So they really struggle to understand what time of the month it is because they haven't got a period.
And there isn't a regular cycle.
Yeah, but they still get the fluctuation in hormones almost. Yeah. So some of them say, like, I'm really tired today, I'm feeling really rubbish, or this, that, and the other. And I say, oh, where are you in your cycle? Oh, I don't have periods, I don't know.
So then it may be a case of understanding the contraception that you're on, the side effects of that, and maybe obviously speaking to a doctor and a specialist about them things as well. We are not experts on periods. This is just conversations that we have that you can listen to. But obviously, if you are really struggling, go and see a doctor or a specialist and things like that. But
you can still track every day, even if you don't have a period. Like on that Garmin app, every day you can go in and track how you're feeling. And if you do that for 2-3 months, you probably see a bit of a pattern of which week you feel a bit funny, and then, even though you don't have a period, you can understand it a little bit more and how you feel. But yeah, that's some of my friends do have them.
So back to the kind of the main question, do you think all men should learn about periods?
Well, yeah, they should know a bit about it.
Yeah, I'm not saying like if you're a man, you should be an expert on periods. I think
it's very subjective. It's circumstantial, isn't it? Because if you said, like, you're a gay man with no female friends, what's the point of learning
the
about
context
it then?
Like, okay, then if you are a heterosexual male who has a female partner, or who intends to have a female partner, then it's probably a good idea to have a baseline knowledge, just understand a little bit. I'm not saying go into all the science stuff. And also, to be honest, lads, like, some women will find it like really attractive because you kind of give a shit about women a little bit, because you're thinking, I know about periods, and I'm not saying you bring it up on the first interaction. Can we talk about your periods? Because then you're like, no, you're not buying me a drink, piss off. But when you get to know that, let's say you've been on a few dates and maybe the subject comes up in conversation, you might be able then to drop it in and go, actually, I do know a little bit, and maybe that she'll be impressed by that. That's not the reason I learned it, because it was from the job.
It's nice from
I'm not saying it's like a pick-up line, like.
No, it's nice from my point of view. When you're being thoughtful, I suppose, you might, I don't know, run about. You always run me back, you do.
Yeah, that's not because it's the time. Yeah, maybe. I suppose if you're more empathetic in terms of,
you'll buy me a Kinder Bueno.
Again, because you're part, like, whatever woman you're with might be fine. Like, you might be with a woman who doesn't really have symptoms at all, so you'd probably be maybe less inclined again to learn about it because it's something that doesn't affect very much. But you know, it might, in terms of things like, it might affect your sex life, and if you've got a better, for that period of time that they're on the period, that was unintentional pun, it might affect your sex life for, they say, them few days or that week that your girlfriend's on or whatever. So you're not, as a man, going to be like, oh, she doesn't want to sleep with me or whatever.
Yeah, from a mental point of view, if you talk about it, yeah.
You understand that she's feeling a certain way. This is why, X, Y, and Z, and I'm not going to be like, oh, she wants to finish me, because, you know, I think that's part of it as well, because I think a lot of men are, like, you might feel like you've been a bit rejected, even though the girl is on the period all the time of the month or whatever.
Really?
Yeah, I would think, and not me personally, because I do have that understanding, and I can be empathetic. Let's say someone who doesn't have that understanding, who isn't empathetic, a no to them, in like, oh, I'm tired tonight, or I'm not up for it, or whatever.
What?
That's a form of rejection to a man. So understanding that, they're feeling this way, I'm not going to take it personal, because I think, you know, if your missus says no, you probably, I don't know what your relationship's like, but you might take it personal.
I'm a bit cuddly, aren't I?
Yeah, or
when he knows, I'm like,
the other side is like, you might do other things like make him a bath or do something for or whatever.
I was wondering where you were going with that.
Oh, no, I'm not going to say that, actually.
No.
It was on the tip of my tongue, but...
oh, God.
No, I don't know. No, I'm not going to say it anyway.
Make him a bath.
Make him a bath or do things that...
I am a chocolate bar. Make the
just
tea
make him
for
feel
him. You made my tea last week, didn't you?
Yeah, that wasn't because it was the time of the month, though,
yeah,
was
but
it?
It's because I was tired. Because I was due on.
Yeah, maybe that comes down to just being a empathetic partner, whether it's period related or not. Like, if one of you's flagging or not feeling good, the other one will take the rap, and then vice versa. When you know, but I think specific to periods, I think, lads, you'll probably do yourself a favour from understanding it a bit. Again, I'm not saying you need to be experts on periods, but if you just, I'm not saying don't even Google it. Just have a conversation with your girlfriend about her periods and how she feels and what she goes through. And I guarantee you, if you do that, you'll at least get a better understanding, and when that time of the month comes around, you'll be like, oh, perhaps I won't do this or do that, or I won't be offended when, you know, she says no, or she's a bit ratty with me or whatever.
I think you don't even have to bring it up. I think women need to bring it up a bit more, not men, and men just need to listen. So sometimes I would even say, I'm like, oh, I'm really tired today, come on. And you'll just be listening. You won't even have to say anything. But if you listen over a few months, and then she starts going, oh, I've got really bad stomachache, and then you listen, like, oh, I really want a Kinder Bueno, and then you start picking up on all the little hints, then you can go away and be
the other thing is, as well, is if you are a man who, I do know lads who are like this, so you're a bit queasy. I'm not saying you want to talk about all the in-depth.
Yeah, but look at the blood.
yeah, you got to start like, right, let's get you on a table and like start examining your missus or whatever. I'm not saying that, but like, if you just have a conversation about how she feels and the symptoms that she feels without going into massive detail, if you're a bit queasy, because I know some men would be like, or maybe even women are like, oh, I don't want to talk about that, it makes me feel weird, or I feel a bit sick, so I don't want to think about it. And there is people like that, and that's not like a nasty thing, they can't help feeling that way, but again, you don't have to go into all the stuff that's going to make you feel a bit sick. You can just talk about do you know what? When it's this time of the month, I feel this way, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with talking about the things that make you feel sick. I think with girls...
No, what I'm saying is, like, you would set the boundaries in the point that you'd be like, listen...
I have no boundaries.
Well, but your partner would probably know if you start talking about loads of blood and you're not really, like, it makes you light-headed or whatever. It's not a good idea. You start fainting and fitting on the floor because your missus is talking about a period.
What are you going to do if they have kids? You'd be out the room.
I don't know. I don't think I could watch.
I've been in a room with girls.
I could watch if I was to have a kid, which we're not planning on, are we? I'm not planning on anyway.
Keeping the periods up.
I don't think I could watch. I'm a little bit queasy with I couldn't watch, and I know lads that have...
watch, and in that position I wouldn't be able
I don't know.
Watch.
I think, when I'm lying on my deathbed, I wouldn't think, do you know what? I've not seen a child come out of a vagina, and that's
child,
what missed.
It'd be your child. It
Still,
random person's child.
But still, that isn't a memory that I think, I need to take with me. That'd stick with me if I was to have a child. Anyway.
I'd like to see.
Yeah, but you're a bit weird like that. Like, you like popping spots and stuff like that. Like, some people are proper weird. Like, I'm just like, if I get a spot on myself, I'm like, just do it.
I'm just like, you've got a spot here, can I pop it? But no.
Some people are just weird like that, but I'm not. Like, I don't. But again, I can have conversations.
Am I weird or are you weird? Because...
You'll have to let us know
what
you like. I think everyone's different. I've spoke to a lot of men and women and something like...
I think you're weird.
Don't think I'm weird. I think there's certain stuff that grosses me out a little bit, but I think...
Not me.
Like, if it's my spot, then I'm not bothered, but when them people like you like, just stranger walks past, got a spot on your neck, mate, do you mind if I... No, weird, like, what is disgusting? Like,
I sit on Instagram, like, through the reels, just looking at...
Oh, we watch them videos where all the... Oh, no, it just makes you... All the stuff's coming out because they're, like, doing some weird operation or something, like... No.
I love it. But I aren't queasy one bit, I'm not queasy about anything, really. You're a bit more queasy than me.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, like, if the conversation of periods comes up, you haven't got to go into massive detail and start talking about all the stuff that does make you feel sick. But
you need to talk about it. If it's something that's quite serious and it makes you feel really ill, then you should talk about it.
Yeah, and I think you're going to get...
Even if it does make them a bit queasy, they need to understand.
You're going to get more out of it from talking to your partner who you maybe live with or spend most of your time with than talking to your friends who you see once every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because they probably experience it anyway if it's a woman. And if it's a man that you live with, he is a bit ignorant and a bit naive to it. He doesn't know. Even if you've been together years, like, especially as a generation thing, like, I imagine, like, your parents, for example, like, I don't know, like, most dads would be like, oh, I'm not talking about that or stuff like that. But now... I don't
know, my dad used to buy all my sanitary products.
Yeah, I think it depends on the men, but I think as a generation thing, as an average rule for generations now, like I said earlier, we are a bit more clued up, but not just about periods, but we know a lot more about, like, fitness and
do you think social media has a big part of that? And I'd say
nutrition,
like
those
the
kind of
internet.
things. Yeah, because we have access to more information, but the problem with that is sometimes it can be too much information.
Or it's not true. Like, it can be
and there can be a lot of bullshit out there. But you don't need to be a scientist on it, just have a conversation with your missus or...
But I would say girls talk to girls about it, because I remember being quite young and having a conversation with my best mates, and it's almost like a light bulb moment, like, oh, you feel like that as well.
Yeah.
And it's, it makes you feel so much better, it makes you feel comfortable, and then one time you might be caught out, you're like, oh, have you got any tampons? I'm like, yeah, I've got loads. Just talking to friends about it.
Yeah, and
everyone gets caught out. I've been in work before, like, in the head's office, like, anyone got any tampons? And then there's like 3 of them get up and come and start giving you stuff. But that's because we talk about it. If I was scared and didn't want to go and ask, I'd be, I don't know, using toilet tissue all day and be stuffed.
What if you got to a situation where men were like, oh, I'll help you out with that. I'm not saying a man would carry tampons around because that would probably be weird. But
if I said to you, oh my God, I've got no tampons, I'm not going into any details, but I can't really move, you would say, right, I'll go to the shop for you then.
Or, yeah, like in the gym, or like, there's some in the gym and the toilet.
Yeah, there's some in the gym because I put them in the gym.
Yeah, but we, I'll take some credit for it. We both come up with that idea, didn't we? No, actually, you didn't. I got the idea from my female clients. Well, like, you should do this.
That was a bin.
Yeah, that
he's lying.
Well.
I got the idea from my friend who has a salon. That's where the idea comes
from. But again, that's a lot. I suppose mostly female-based business. Fair Vanity Nails as well.
Yeah,
Just a
Vanity
little
Nails
plug
and
there,
Beauty.
Charlotte, if you're
Will
listening.
Stanton. Adrian. But yeah,
Sponsored by.
for years, she had the salon for years, but always in their toilet, and I always thought it was an amazing thing, had a set of drawers, and it had things like tampons, pads, panty liners, there's body spray, there's breath spray, there's literally everything going. But when we opened the gym, we thought that's a brilliant idea, especially if you think exercise might be a bit of leakage if you're on your period. You can just nip to the toilets.
The amount of women, older women, well, not older women necessarily, women who've had kids, if we ever do like star jumps and jumping and stuff, they're like, I'm so glad I've got my pads on. I'm like,
your panty liners.
Thanks
There's some downstairs.
I'm glad you got your pants on as well, because my carpet would be
expensive.
wee stained, and I'm not cleaning that up.
But yeah, it's good. I think it's quite thoughtful, having that kind of thing around. They're free in Scotland, aren't they? Recently, I think it's become...
Yeah, in public toilets.
Yeah, in public toilets, which I think is amazing, because the amount of times as a woman, my period isn't a surprise. I started when I was 11, so we're talking 18 years now I've had periods, but I still get caught out. You still go somewhere and think, oh my God, I haven't bought anything with me, and I think that's amazing that you can have it in public toilets. The gym, I think, is amazing. And then asking people, friends. I think there's
a lot of situations where, like, what business you are or whatever, there's always going to be, if you've got females a part of that business, if it's a men-only business, then it doesn't matter, does it? But
you might have female visitors.
Yeah, female visitors or female
there's
employees
female
or
toilets,
female clients. It's always going to be a good idea just to be, prepared in that sense.
Yeah. And did you know what I found out the other day? It's pretty amazing. Amazon do, when they do their monthly deliveries.
Yeah, the subscriptions.
Subscriptions. You can sign up to sanitary towels on subscription. So they just get delivered to your door every month. If you're really forgetful, there you go. Amazon subscriptions. You can just get it delivered to your door every month, and then you don't have to nip out.
There you go.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty amazing.
So, let us know what you think about what we talk, whether you do think men should learn about periods. If you are a man and you're listening to this and
what do you think?
I think absolutely. I don't think you should be an expert. I think you should have a baseline knowledge. Like I've said, just maybe from having a conversation with your missus, or it might not be your missus. Maybe it might be a family member or a female friend. Just have a conversation, and you be like, I didn't know that was part of it, or you'll probably open your mind a little bit more, and you go, I understand women a little bit more. You'll never understand them fully because they're absolute nutters, but you will understand a bit more about it.
Good job I'm not on, because his head wouldn't be attached to his shoulders right now, would it?
So yeah, if you're a man, have a conversation with your missus or a female friend or family member to find out a little bit more. Yeah. If you are a female, try and find a way with your partner to just feed it into the conversation casually, which I know it might be a challenge, but don't just go, let's talk about periods.
You might be like, I'm exhausted today, I'll come on this
and
morning.
Then maybe get in that way, and then, like I said earlier, your partner will get a better understanding, and they won't feel rejected and stuff, and they'll have more empathy when you do feel a certain way, whether it's, you're getting rejected in the bedroom, or because you're tired, or it's just because you've been a bit ratty because you're not feeling great and you're tired, whatever. They'll understand it, they can be more empathetic, and hopefully your relationship will be
I always say that communication is at the forefront of any good relationship, and I think that's what this comes down to, just talking about it, communicate.
If you are a gay man, don't worry about it.
Still communicate though. Talk to your friends.
Yeah, not about periods though. But I would probably, side note, this is a bit of a stereotype, but a lot of gay men do have female friends, don't they? And they probably, if you are a woman, would you be more inclined to talk to a gay man about it because he's gay than you would a straight man? Because you wouldn't feel any pressure because they're not with women. Do you know what I mean? Do that make sense?
Yeah, but no.
Like how have you got like a gay best friend?
What you're saying is that's just talking to a friend, whether it's male or female.
Well, like if you've got a gay best friend, like women will get undressed in front of a gay best friend, even though it's a man, because they know they're not attracted to him, and then there's no.
Again, that's just a friend, isn't it? I'd get undressed in front
of in the same.
Female
but if you had a straight male friend, you probably wouldn't get undressed in front of him, because then it become.
He hopes not, anyway.
Well, I hope not. Yeah, because then it could be inappropriate, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I suppose, or maybe you'd start blurring the line. So when it comes to periods, would you be more okay with talking to a gay best friend than you would a straight male?
It doesn't bother me. So it's the wrong person to ask. Like I say, bring it up at work.
I think maybe it's
men around the table like, just come out.
Yeah,
it doesn't bother me. I talk to anyone.
I think whether it doesn't matter on your sexuality, it's more about whether that man is understanding or gets weirded out by it. It doesn't matter whether they're straight, gay, whatever, is it?
No. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like some men will be like, I'm leaving this conversation, I don't want to talk about it.
That is genuinely what you get as a woman if you bring it up.
So some men will be like more inquisitive and go, actually...
I would say older men though. Older men don't like it. Younger men don't really care.
Is that a generation thing? I think so.
Yeah, I think
a little bit.
Let us know.
Yeah. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think of this episode. Let us know whether you think what we're saying is, men should learn about periods. I think we definitely think they do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not an expert, but just learn a little bit. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Leave a comment on the video. Share this with your friends or family.
Or give us a text. I've had quite a few texts this week, which have been lovely, saying listen to the podcast, watch the video.
If you've liked the subject that we're talking about.
We don't always know who watches it, so if you can text.
Let us know that you liked it and share it with your friend or...
Comment, let us know.
Yeah.
Give us your feedback.
Period.
Over and out.
We'll leave it there. Thank you very much. See you next time.
Bye.